Well, yes, Grenada, Carrico, Pity Monic, and the rest of the world. Welcome again to another Mikey Live program. I'm your host, Mikey Hutchinson, coming to you from the beautiful island of Grenada. We are the Spice Isle of the Caribbean. And, of course, we're going to tell you a lot of things that has happened in the Caribbean and other parts of the world. Tonight, you'll hear a lot about what's happening with regards to the coronavirus. As it gets closer and closer to home, it is now time for us to take a serious look at our plans going forward, how we can deal with it as individual islands within the region and collectively. So folks, welcome again, those of you who are always on the program, those of you who never miss. Welcome to tonight's program, and those of you who are with us for the first time, we always like to give a warm welcome to you. Thank you for choosing Mikey Live. Do not make this your first and your last. We will be happy to have you more and more frequently. Let's take a look at the headlines. We've got an update on Micah Bascom. That's a shooting victim. All right. Alliance of Churches concerned about nudity in Carnival. We'll talk about that. And as well, the Ministry of Health quarantines 3 Italian nationals. As well, Trinidad and Tobago expands its coronavirus travel restrictions, and experts predicts coronavirus in China will be under control by the end of April. And Nicki Minaj had a heart-to-heart with girls at an institution in Trinidad and Tobago. We will tell you about that. In St. Lucia, 7 road fatalities for the year 2020 so far, and they are concerned about that sharp increase, almost doubling that of last year at this time. Now, we will return shortly. It is important to note that this program is supported by several businesses, and for the headlines, we'd like to say thank you to the folks at Digicel and Nawasa. Folks, when we come back, it will be real news in all your Lily Lolo, so brace all yourself. We'll be back.
We enjoy the luxury of a quality water supply, but it can come to this. Have adequate storage.
Grenada is the place to be June 5th to 7th for the highly anticipated Grenada Music Festival 2020, featuring 2-time Grammy Award winners Kool and the Gang, Coco T, Romaine Virgo, Marcia Griffiths, Arturo Tappan, Crossfire, Nadia Batson, Was Ways, Vaughn, and the Dancehall Emperor, Shallow Ranks. 3 nights of amazing music, great food, and pure Grenada hospitality. Grenada Music Festival 2020, June 5th to 7th, Quarantine Park, Grenada. Tickets available online at gotofet.com. Book your flights at hotel today. This ad is sponsored by the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Grenada, all you think all you mad.
You think you mad, me mad too. Me madder than you.
Get ready for the maddest bingo ever as Megaforce Promotions presents the massive March Madness Bingo. Sunday, March 1st from 5 p.m. It's gonna be pure madness at the National Stadium because you can win 2 mint-condition Toyota RAV4s.
Megaforce giving away RAV4 just so.
But wait, that's not all. You can also win $35,000 in cash.
No, that is real madness.
Tickets are only $60 for 1, $100 for 2. Remember, if you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance to drive away in a RAV4 and $35,000 in cash at the massive Megaforce March Madness Bingo. Brought to you by Carol Glenell, GoToFed.com, Mikey Live, and Waggy T Rentals and Sound Company.
You think you mad, me mad too. Me madder than you.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom
for me and you.
I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. What a wonderful world.
Why not stay in? Turn off the alarm clock and sleep some more on your perfect mattress from Quartz. For the widest range of mattresses from the world's best brands, the best value guaranteed. Shop today and let our sleep experts help you to decide on the best option to suit your needs. At Quartz, we don't just sell mattresses, we're offering you the best night's sleep. So, sleep in a little on your new mattress from Quartz. Quartz, bringing value home.
All right, thank you very much. We are always bringing value home. And before I get into the news for today, I would like to kindly appeal to your soft side to support somebody that I know very well in her efforts to stay alive. That's Wendy Ann Mitchell Garcia. She's fighting lymphoma cancer and needs prayers and support. And as well, they have set up a GoFundMe account so that you can, make your donations there. And I am posting that that link in the chat now, so folks, you can go ahead and support her. Right, you'll see the link there now. So that's for Wendy Ann, all right, Mitchell Garcia. She's really ill and needs some serious intervention. And so if you can help in whatever way that you can, every dollar counts. You go on to the GoFundMe account that I just posted and please support her. And probably you can take the link, do me a favor, take the link and post it on your page as well after the program. Okay, folks, and the next thing that we have to tell you about, boy, is now we are hearing more and more conversation about the coronavirus. Now, as the coronavirus COVID-19 continues to impact a growing number of countries around the world, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell has reiterated that the disease is not present in Grenada. Speaking publicly on Tuesday, Dr. Mitchell said, "We have no coronavirus COVID-19 in our country at this point in time. God help us that we continue to have none of it." Having just attended the 31st intersessional meeting of the Conference of CARICOM Heads of Government, where the coronavirus outbreak was a major talking point, Dr. Mitchell said that the entire Caribbean region reported that there is not present in any of the islands, all right, so that there's no corona there. Remember, if there is one incident of the virus in any country, they say the Caribbean, and we can all get hurt. So you understand the nature of this, all right? They are asking that persons also disseminate accurate information and, just do the necessary things. I think it's time for the government of Grenada, led by the Ministry of Health, to put out a series of public service announcements, aggressive as of yesterday, on how to protect yourself from contracting the virus. That should be shown at all secondary schools, twice weekly at least. It must also be shown on all media outlets, radio, TV, social media, almost every day by mainstream and new media every day. This campaign must be led by the government of Grenada, no one else. The government of Grenada. You have the resources. Let's get this going as soon as yesterday. We are not going to wait until coronavirus hits our shores, then we look to react. So we're going to do this ASAP. All right, practically, if you want to talk, let's say at least by Monday, God's willing, let it happen. If you can't do it, say you can't, and let other people in the private sector assist. But anything later than that is unacceptable. The Ministry of Health, get up and get these PSAs running now. Seriously, all right? I think that's what's going to help us. Children, let's get it into the psyche of the school children. Let's get it into the psyche of the general public so that Grenada will lead on this. It's not very expensive, and I know when we have our election and so on, how aggressive we get with messaging. Let's adopt the same method now, and let's show the world how we as a small nation is going to have zero in island contraction of the coronavirus. Now, we have an update for you as it relates to one Grenadian girl who was shot in the head on the weekend. Now, we are told that she's been recovering slowly but painfully, and we have a report for you on Micah Bascom. Of course, her situation came into the news on Sunday evening into Monday, and since then the nation has been keeping her in their prayers.
A night out for some college students turned into a tragedy over the weekend when a woman was shot in the head outside a theater on Bailey Avenue. 2 on Your Side's Claudine Ewing sat down with her dad.
Early Sunday morning outside the Varsity Theater on Bailey Avenue, shots were fired and a bullet struck 20-year-old Micah Bascom.
Micah has been shot in the head. That was the grim story I received. Micah has been shot in the head.
That's the information Micah's dad received after leaving work on Sunday. The family lives in Brooklyn. They're originally from Grenada, where word of the shooting made headline news.
She was getting into an Uber, and she felt something, something like a stinging something to her head, and her wig fell off.
Her wig fell
Her
off.
wig fell off, and she wasn't aware of what was happening until someone told her, there's blood, she's bleeding.
It's believed the Buffalo State College senior psychology major was caught in crossfire. Her father was able to come to our station and see some of the video after the shooting. For now, the family is thankful.
The doctors describe her as a miracle lady because it's surprising that, she is alive.
Micah was at ECMC and has been released.
What we don't know is in terms of any long-term effects, whether any impairment.
Her father is reflecting on how a simple night out for his college daughter and friends turned tragic.
We are happy that Micah is alive, but, going through that sort of pain of having to see her and see her condition at one point in time and not sure, whether or not, she will pull it through. I think it's probably just best for that person to just surrender to the police.
Buffalo police say they are following up on leads. Claudine Ewing, Channel 2 News.
We do not come from a position where we feel that.
Hold on, Devon. I show is yours. All right, folks. So the next thing that we have to tell you, boy, is yes, President Devon Rashe. The Alliance of Evangelical Churches, they are standing against nudity, especially at Grenada's main cultural event, Spice Mass. And we have seen the launch of bands and have had an idea as to some of the costumes and what some of the costumes would look like. And they are saying that these costumes are getting less and less, and they are very concerned about that.
Feel that we are perfect and everybody else is imperfect, all right? Been expressed regarding the costumes and the lack of costumes. When I speak about lack of costumes, the fact that really people are paying a lot of money for very little, right? Is really well founded. What we see now in terms of the costume does not reflect what held in the past. When we speak about some of our traditional dances and our folk dances and so forth that we know very well, and how our people used to dress with their folk wear, it was not the type of nakedness. And I agree with them. We should not have to tell them don't do this. They should know that you should not go to the street dressed like that, right? And again, this is not from a position of judgment. It is from a position of concern. At the end of the day, people have choice, right? So people can choose to go maybe naked to carnival, if they choose to. Somebody can choose to go outside of their house naked, right? But this is not people expressing concerns about what you do within your home. You can wear or not wear what you want within your home. But when it comes to the public, I believe people have a right to express their concerns. It is a pity that Spice Mass went back on some of the things that they had advocated for. It's really a pity.
It's not a pity, dog. You understand? Yo! Anyway, lady, I don't want to comment. You see if I can comment on them business, I'll get myself in trouble. You know what I mean? Well, I see it is that. Anyway, lady, that ugly. Yeah, son. Like you behave. Erosion of Amerindian burial site at Mount Craven. We've been monitoring this, and while we were putting a report together, we noticed that the Now Grenada website also were doing a really interesting, and I like their angle, you know. So I stand down, yeah. I mean, I say, okay, let's talk to you about this from this is the Now Grenada report of this. A struggle is being waged on two fronts to excavate the remains of an Amerindian burial site in the north of the island under siege by wave action. Since 2018, archaeologists have been attempting to document and salvage the skeletal remains of Amerindians who once settled in the area located in Sater's St. Patrick. Now, their remains have been undisturbed for over 1,000 years, but after the recent construction, they say, of the breakwater project, which was meant to protect the town from wave action, residents have started to witness the destructive heavy sea surge pushed further down the coast, which has started to expose the burial site. Now, a team from Leiden University, led by Professor Dr. Corinne Hoffman, started the excavation in 2018 and found skeletal remains and artifacts. Now, the bones collected are presently being analyzed at the Leiden University. Now, the earliest archaeological remains are carbon dated to be around 680, and since then to the year 1650. There have been many Amerindian settlements in the region. Archaeologist Jonathan Hanna, who was then a student at the Penn State University, assisted in the emergency excavation back in 2018, and has since returned upon the completion of his doctorate in anthropology to continue the fight to preserve Grenada's cultural heritage. Folks, so they went there and they discovered those skeletal remains. Look at this. Folks, you see that? Yeah, and I talking all the time. I talking and one night I'm going on there. I find no wit now. But yes, going back to this, right, folks? So these are some of the remains that are there, and it is not the first time that they're making such discoveries. Since 2018, archaeologists have been attempting to document and salvage the skeletal remains of the Amerindians who once settled in the area located in Sater St. Patrick, and their remains have been undisturbed for over 1,000 years. But after the recent construction of the breakwater project, they say, which was meant to protect the town from wave action, residents have started to witness the destructive heavy sea surge pushed further down the coast, which has started to expose the burial site. I know at some point in time we got disconnected with the audio once I transitioned, so I'm not sure exactly what amount of information that you missed, all right? But we have archaeologists who have been here back in 2018, and they're back now understanding the nature of what's happening to see if they can salvage what's left and to document and to preserve Grenada's history. All right, the earliest archaeological remains are carbon dated to be around 680, and since then to the year 1650, there have been many Amerindian settlements in the region, all right? They are saying that they really want to stop what's happening there and don't just let it go, wash away with the waves and so on. We also noticed that there were structures built right next to these findings on the, waterfront. So even these structures are being threatened as well by the violent waves in St. Patrick. We are moving on. Folks, how are we looking for time? Now the next thing we have to tell all about, boys, the Ministry of Health. More coronavirus conversations. But more specifically, they have informed us that they have quarantined some persons. They say that swift action by the Grenadian health officials and immigration officers at the Maurice Bishop International Airport on Wednesday night resulted in the quarantine of 3 Italian nationals who arrived on an international flight. The 3 who had left Italy 2 days prior were considered persons of interest to the Ministry of Health Surveillance and Monitoring Team, which immediately screened, interviewed, and isolated the visitors from the general population at the airport's arrival terminal. Now, during the process, medical experts conducted an extensive probing interview and temperature checks, and with assistance from immigration officials, reviewed travel documents that revealed a specific travel history. Now, the execution of the quarantine order on the visitors is in keeping with Grenada's efforts to prevent an outbreak of the coronavirus COVID-19 on the island. The ministry has also notified the Italian consulate in Grenada. Health authorities are also tracking travelers from Iran, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, and Italy, who have seen steady increases in the number of confirmed COVID cases. Now, the Ministry of Health commends all first responders for their efforts and services, and reiterates that all personnel will continue to observe the necessary protocols to ensure their personal safety. What happens to the people who are on board these aircrafts? Is there anything that can be done to have these checks done prior to persons getting on the plane, so that the quarantine process or pre-quarantine procedures can start taking place from since they are about to board the aircraft? Because all these things to me are just smoke screens. Because if somebody is infected and they come on the plane, even if they are not showing obvious signs at the time, can they not still transmit the virus to someone who they are sitting next to? I'm just saying, it's like trying to catch the chicken after it leaves the coop. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm not pointing a finger. I'm just wondering if a different or more effective strategy cannot be employed. Yeah, but anyway, just thinking out loud. We are moving on. We are also hearing about Trinidad. They have also expanded coronavirus travel restriction. Yeah, so the Caribbean, anyway. Now, experts are predicting coronavirus in China will be under control by the end of April. Now, a top Chinese respiratory expert says he is confident. That's what he said. He said he's confident that the epidemic will be basically under control at the end of April. All right? Speaking at the news conference, he said he had so far reasonably accurately projected the course of the virus. And so he's saying on that basis, this is evidence. This is proof that he knows what he is saying. Yeah? And he believes that very soon, at least by the end of April, it will be under control. Now, what's troubling for me is this next report. A woman working as a tour bus guide in Japan has tested positive for the coronavirus for a second time. They are noting this as the first case of reinfection to be reported. Reinfection in a dog. Because you know, usually your body builds immunity to these viruses. And so the next time when the body sees it, hey, where you going with that? Platow! And it don't affect you. But in this case, they say she's been reinfected and all. I don't know. Somebody had to check that report. Maybe that's false. Because that don't make no sense. Because if the corona has that capability, no. At least 700 people who returned to New York from trips throughout China have been placed under voluntary quarantines as the deadly Wuhan coronavirus continues to spread across the world, officials say on Wednesday. The US say that they are bracing for an outbreak and they believe that they can handle it. Here at home, our government has to deal with the demands by its students who are currently in Wuhan, 14 of them who has now published a petition to have them returned to Grenada. Folks, the petition in which they published requires 1,500 signatures. I don't know the significance of the number, but that's what it requires. And so far, we have seen, the last time we checked, over 1,308 signatures on that petition. So, I don't know. After the petition reaches its maximum, what happens there? I've not heard the government on any official address or response to this by the Wuhan students, but I could only expect that one is forthcoming. The students are saying that they need to be returned home. They are saying that they are not satisfied with the level of interaction or communication with the government here, and they feel like they have been left abandoned. All right? All right. Olia, we are moving on. How are we looking for time? Listen to this. Nicki Minaj, world top class rapper. She paid a visit together with the citizen of, well, the cop, the commissioner of police, Gary Griffith in Trinidad. All right, she joined him at the St. Jude Home for Girls there. And folks, Nicki Minaj just let it all out.
Girls, I just want to tell you guys, it is my pleasure to be here with you. I've heard a lot about you girls so far, but I don't want to be long and boring, but I do have a few things I want to tell you guys. As you know, I was born in Trinidad, Port of Spain, right up there. I lived with my grandmother and my whole family on Barnes Road, and I eventually went to the States, but even in my teenage years, I didn't know which way I was going to turn. I had a lot of things going on. You know, I've experienced being in a home with domestic violence. I've experienced, you know, being at a very difficult crossroad in my life as a teenager. And sometimes as a teenager, when things happen, you feel like there's no up from there. Sometimes, do you guys ever feel like, what's the sense of going on? What's the sense of continuing to try? Sometimes you feel like nobody cares. And I just want to tell you, because I remember I always used to say, since I became an adult, I used to say, I wish I had an adult or a big sister to tell me certain things. I didn't really have that, you know? And when things would happen to me as a teenager, I would be too embarrassed or scared to tell my mother. I don't know what is going on in your life, but I know that it feels so difficult when you're going through it. But you will get through it. You will get out of it. You know, I was one of those girls that experienced being pregnant as a teenager. And, you know, I was so ashamed to have to tell my mother that. Till this day, I never told my mother. I felt like I let myself down, and I felt like if anybody was to find out, my whole family would be ashamed of me. And I want you guys to use, if you have to use my life as a lesson in the fact that there is always better days ahead. You know, I want you guys to be encouraged. I want you guys to know that God didn't promise us a problem-free life. We ain't never gonna have that. You're never gonna experience life and feel like, you know what, everything is good all the time. But there has to be something inside of you, even right now today, that decides you're gonna win no matter what. No matter what comes at you, no matter what was already said about you, no matter if you don't have your parents, no matter if you don't have family, you have to know and decide today, right now, that you are gonna be one of the ones in this room that wins. Who's gonna win in this room? Me!
Who's gonna win in this room? Who's going to win on this program? Who's going to win in the chat? Who's going to win that's currently watching the program? And that's you. See, every step of your journey, the highs, as few as it may be, and the lows, as abundant as it may be, is all part of your success. Because success is inevitable. Sometimes it takes longer than we expect, longer than we would hope for, but success is inevitable. So, just listen, embrace the journey. We are moving on. 7, hear this now, 7 road fatalities in St. Lucia so far for 2020. Now last year, around this time, there were just about 3 road fatalities. And just when you thought that Grenada had it all, St. Lucia is struggling with the same thing. We are probably yet to put our hands on it to figure out, hey, why are we having so many accidents? It seemed like the numbers have started declining to some degree in terms of serious accidents that we are having in Grenada for 2020. Well, you know, the year started a real dread, but yeah, boy, 7 so far. And I mean, when you listen to some of them, it's just crazy. It's just crazy, folks. I before I continue again, I need to do this. I'm committed to doing this. All right. There's a young lady who really and truly needs your help. She has been diagnosed with cancer. That's Wendian. I've posted the link on the page. Some of you have it. Please post the link, all right? Please post the link so that others will get it. I really need you guys' help on this one, all right? Please, thank you. Good. And so going back to the story, we have a special report on this from St. Lucia.
The Royal St. Lucia Police Force Traffic Department has urged motorists to drive with caution on the nation's roads. 7 persons have so far lost their lives between January and February as a result of road accidents. In light of the increase in road fatalities during that period, Sergeant of the Traffic Department, Calixtus Shalmine, has advised motorists to not engage in destructive driving. He also advised drivers to keep to the set speed limit on the nation's roadways.
So far we have had 7 crashes, 7 accidents. 6 accidents and 7 deaths. The period last year, we had, between January and February, we had 3 crashes and 3 deaths. So if you compare this year to last year, almost double the figure.
In January, St. Lucia recorded its first road accident when a pedestrian was struck by a pickup truck in Mondo Jackmill on January 18, 2020. In less than a week, on January 22nd, a female resident of Monripo was pronounced dead following a motor vehicle collision in Tiroche, Miko. On January 23rd, the death toll climbed to 3 so far for the year, with the death of a motorcyclist. On January 29th, police responded to a report of a motor vehicular accident in Wavin Poisson. On Thursday, February 6th, one of the occupants succumbed to his injuries. It was the 4th road fatality recorded for 2020. St. Lucia recorded another fatality for 2020 when a male individual who was involved in an accident in Monripo on January 22, 2020 succumbed to his injuries in February. A 73-year-old pedestrian in Canaries died days after he was struck by a moving vehicle on February 2nd. The 7th road fatality was recorded for the year along the Bexo Highway on Friday, 14th February 2020, with the death of another motorcyclist.
There are investigations. Some of the files have been submitted. There are ongoing investigations.
The sergeant of the traffic department also disclosed that supplementary reports have been submitted with regards to investigations into several incidents. Law enforcement officers have implored St. Lucians to observe the rules of road and exercise caution. Cecil Actil, NBC Prime.
Thank you very much, Cecile, for that report. We had another report that's not time sensitive, but we are running out of time. I'll try to do that for you tomorrow. We've been trying to do that since yesterday, but it's not time sensitive, all right? So what I want to do right now, I want to take a quick break. And folks, we shall return shortly. We've got a national report coming up. We've got the weather as well.
We enjoy the luxury of a quality water supply. But it can come to this. Have adequate storage.
Grenada is the place to be June 5th to 7th for the highly anticipated Grenada Music Festival 2020, featuring 2-time Grammy Award winners Kool and the Gang, Coco T, Romaine Virgo, Marcia Griffiths, Arturo Tappan, Crossfire, Nadia Batson, Was Ways, Vaughn, and the Dancehall Emperor, Chavo Ranks. 3 nights of amazing music, great food, and pure Grenada hospitality. Grenada Music Festival 2020, June 5th to 7th, Quarantine Park, Grenada. Tickets available online at gotofet.com. Book your flights at hotel today. This ad is sponsored by the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Golden Mass invites you to the launch of The Realm, home of the supreme gods and goddesses. Join us as we display our spectacular costume designs for Spice Mass 2020. March 7th, Spice Basket, featuring the best entertainers, our ambassadors, Natty and Tunda, Jab King, Chaos and LED, our hype masters for the night, Kevin Crown from New York, Select a Beast, and Smiley. Gates open at 9 p.m. Grab your tickets at Grenadian Optical, The Occasion, Big Barbershop, Double Up, and online at gotofed.com. Sponsored by Fast Cash, Swiftback, Body Image, Junction Bar and Grill, Monster, Jackpot City, Go to Fed, Party Grenada, and Boss FM. March 7th, Spice Basket. Welcome to the realm, to the realm, to the realm.
Grenada, all you think all you mad?
You think you mad, me mad too. Me madder than you.
Get ready for the maddest bingo ever as Megaforce Promotions presents the massive March Madness Bingo. Sunday, March 1st from 5 p.m. It's gonna be pure madness at the National Stadium because you can win 2 mint-condition Toyota RAV4s.
Megaforce giving away RAV4 just so.
But wait, that's not all. You can also win $35,000 in cash.
No, that is real madness.
Tickets Tickets are only $60 for one, 100 for two. Remember, if you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance to drive away in a RAV4 and $35,000 in cash at the massive Mega Force March Madness Bingo. Brought to you by Carrie Glenell, GoToFed.com, Mikey Live, and Waggy T Rentals and Sound Company.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom
For me and you.
I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. What a wonderful world.
Why not stay in, turn off the alarm clock, and sleep some more on your perfect mattress from Quartz? For the widest range of mattresses from the world's best brands, the best value guaranteed. Shop today and let our sleep experts help you to decide on the best option to suit your needs. At Quartz, we don't just sell mattresses, we're offering you the best night's sleep. So, sleep in a little on your new mattress from Quartz. Quartz, bringing value home.
Yes, so we are indeed bringing value home with Quartz. It's time for the National Report.
Government partners with cybersecurity program to encourage safer online activities. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, February 27th, 2020, I am Rakisha St. Louis. Eradicating cybercrimes and building a safer online community has been a topical issue in Grenada for years. Grenada now has its online platform to share information and create public awareness on internet security. The government of Grenada has partnered with Get Safe Online UK, a Commonwealth cybersecurity program, to learn more about online threats and ways the citizens can be protected. A team is currently on island conducting a cybersecurity workshop with students, IT personnel, among others.
The perception is that young people know a lot more about technology than my generation, and that's true to the extent that they know how to use it, but the question mark is, do they know how to stay safe whilst using it?
The workshop covers protection of computers, smartphones, protection through online banking and payment, social networking. According to Bayer, the workshop is a reminder that online protection is not guaranteed. Other people can have instant access if there is no protection.
The issue is we're not bringing skills to Grenada because Grenada has plenty of IT people. They know exactly what they're doing. What we are bringing is expertise from, or not expertise, but experience from a country that's been hard hit by cybercrime, to try and give the islands a heads up that, you know, look out, this is coming. Because in terms of what we would call real world criminality, so offline criminality, historically you've been protected by hundreds of miles of sea. It's quite a financial investment for a criminal to actually come here and commit crime. Well, now you've got effectively a land border with the rest of the world because they're right on your doorstep. So you haven't got that protection anymore.
He stressed the importance of having a password for every online account.
The password thing, it's been obvious when we've moved around that people talk about their password singular, and it should be passwords. You need a different password for every single account that you have online. Clearly managing that is a problem, but when we've been doing the training, we've been highlighting methods you can use to either remember it, or if all else fails, write it down, but make sure you write it down and put it somewhere safe. The difficulty is if you only use one password, if somebody manages to break that and gets into one account, then they've got into all your accounts, and that leaves you financially extremely vulnerable.
The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, is hosting a series of consultations to discuss draft regulations for the electricity sector. The 9 documents include draft regulations on rules and procedures for applying for license and permits, draft regulations on tariff setting methodology, and the Grenada Electricity Sector Grid Code. The consultations, which will begin on Tuesday, March 3rd, will also be taken to residents of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. Dr. George Matthew, acting CEO of the Commission, says these regulations are not just for the country's electricity company, and as such, everyone should have an interest.
Everybody in Grenada are stakeholders, basically, because you're a consumer, you're a stakeholder in what happens for the public utilities or utilities themselves. They should be able to ensure that there is sustainability within a country, there is growth, there is economic development. So all players, everyone in Grenada is a stakeholder, and that's one of the main things that we're trying to bring across also, so that everyone can be engaged. So don't think about the regulations or what I'm going to say now, the different regulatory instruments that we have, the draft ones that we have for consulting now. They are not just for Grenlec. So the consumers, you yourself, me, myself, anyone in Grenada should pay a keen interest in what is happening.
The time allowed for comments to the draft will be 30 working days. While it is undertaking this round of negotiations, the PURC can decide, although not obligated, to conduct another public consultation inviting additional comments. The draft documents can be viewed at www.purc.gd/consultations. This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break. Welcome back. The misuse and overuse of antibiotics contribute to a buildup of resistance to the drug over time. The Veterinary and Livestock Department of the Ministry of Agriculture continues to raise awareness on this issue. Karima Lewis tells us more in this report.
Antibiotic or antimicrobial resistance, the unfortunate occurrence of bacteria and fungi developing the ability to defeat drugs designed to kill them. This was the topic presented on by the Veterinary and the Livestock Department of the Ministry of Agriculture as they continue to raise awareness on the do's and don'ts of using antibiotics. The session, which was held at the Rosehill Community Centre in St. Patrick on Tuesday, was the second in a series of activities held by the department, the first being in St. David at the Marmont Community Centre in the latter part of 2019. According to the department, the misuse of antibiotics contributes to the buildup of resistance by the body in fighting diseases in both animals and humans.
The medication that you might be using, let's say you're using medication A to treat infection B, and then after 3 months, medication A is no longer effective against infection B, then it's most likely that you have a resistance.
That was Dr. Kimon Cummins, the Chief Veterinary and Livestock Officer in the ministry, as he explains how one can identify when they are resistant to an antibiotic medication. Inappropriate drug use, lack of quality control in manufacturing, outdated drugs, and overuse of antimicrobials in the food industry are just some of the factors contributing to the resistance, said Dr. Cummins. 2 of the most effective measures in dealing with antimicrobial resistance, he said, is the strengthening of governance related to antibiotics in food and agriculture and the promotion of good practices related to antimicrobial usage.
This to me is really critical. because you want persons to be very responsible with regards to the usage of antimicrobials. And when I say responsible, I mean you would not use any kind of prescription drug that was not recommended, or you weren't given direction as to how to go about using it by, a professional, or maybe a medical doctor or veterinarian. Or secondly, whenever you do get a course antibiotic, you want to make sure that you follow the directions. So if it says 7 days, you want to ensure that you go along to 7 days.
The session was attended by agriculture science students from the McDonald College and 4-Hers from some of the primary schools. 2 students from the secondary school and primary schools respectively relay what they learned from the presentation.
I learned that bacteria can build up a resistance to antibiotics and ways to treat it and treat cuts and sores that contain bacteria properly, and then they wouldn't build up a resistance to the antibiotics we use. My father is one, he used lots of antibiotics, so yes, I'll enlighten him on the dangers and stuff like that.
I have learned that rabies is like a disease. So if it starts as like say your foot, it will take a bit longer to reach up to your brain. But if it starts like your arm, it will take maybe around 21 days. And also, I also learned that rabies, when you see an animal foaming in the mouth, the best thing to do is to run. Because, there is almost no cure for rabies, so the chances of you getting out alive is pretty small.
For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Karima Lewis.
Thank you, Karima. Finally, in the news, the Rehabilitation Unit of Her Majesty's Prison imparted pertinent information to students of the Boca Secondary School on Thursday as part of their prison outreach program. The program targets youth, especially young men, to highlight the ills of prison life and to influence youth to engage in behavior that will not violate the laws of the country. Member of the Royal Grenada Police Force, Shellon Hostain, attached to the rehabilitation unit, says youth are the ones most exposed to various influences.
Our aim is to visit all the secondary schools on the island and hopefully see how we could target even the primary schools, right? But it might be a difficult task. It's all about encouraging the youth to stay away from crime and violence, because what we notice is that the prison population has been increased by a heavy youth, by the youth, right? And that's why we try to target the schools, because we realize that from the schools where a lot of the crime development starts, even at primary school, in this day and age, especially with the technology and the exposure to a lot of influences. So we have that influx of crime among the youth. So our outreach program is really tailored to prevent them from coming to prison.
He says the information disseminated to the students have impacted them positively.
There are some schools we go and the students get so emotional that, because you can actually see like it's happening to them, like certain things that they're doing, and we notice that even with the questions they will ask, it's really sensitizing them. So it is impacting the community, I should say, and the schools in that sense. Yeah, because, they're attentive and they do understand.
That story just ended the national report for today, Thursday, February 27th. Let's recap the top story. Government partners with a cybersecurity program to encourage safer online activities. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Thank you very much, guys, for the production of the National Report, and that's as far as we can go with that for tonight. We do have the weather report for you, and let's do that before we depart tonight, all right? Okay, so the weather is submitted by the Met Office, and for tonight we can expect cloudy conditions, and that's going to persist for the night, all right? Tonight's minimum temperature is expected to be just around 24.5 degrees Celsius. Winds east-northeasterly to east-southeasterly at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Seas slight to moderate. Waves 3 to 5 feet in open waters. And that's the weather for tonight. Before we wrap up, good night to Doris, Suzette, how are you? Sherman, Zaka, John, Angel, Joyous, Irma, Sheba, Wendy and Mishi, Rose, Shireen, and Charlene, Camille, and Kireen. Allah, how are you doing today? And as well, Louisa, Rayburn, Mom, and Linton are currently tuned in. Margaret, Meryl, my sister, how are you? Good night to you as well. Zilon, what's going on? And Mr. McQueen, good night to you guys, all right? And Monica, and everyone else. Thank you for watching, and we'll have another program for you tomorrow, God's willing. It's Friday, and of course, tomorrow, Friday, will be a good one. Yeah, we already started working on some stories for you, so brace yourself for that. God bless you, and we shall see next day. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we all say, Ja, no. Have a good one, everyone. Be safe, and remember, don't let anyone steal your joy.